Good morning. My name is Kelly. I'm General Manager of Ryan's RV Town in Everett, Washington. Today we're going to do one of our rental video features for our clients that will be renting from us throughout the year. This is a new unit for us this year. This is a 2019 Four Winds. It is a Sprinter Mercedes chassis, Mercedes diesel chassis that is, with two slide outs. This is about as big as they build on this chassis. Having just driven it, I can tell you they've made some improvements. It's got a lot of pep, a lot of power, and you should still get between 15 and 20 miles to the gallon depending on whether you're in town, highway, or how you're driving. So that being said, let's get into it. A few things that you need to know before you get started. Your overhead clearance, even though it feels like a smaller RV, your overhead clearance is still about 12 feet. We tell you your 12-foot clearance minimum for anything you're going to go under. Your overall width with mirrors, you need just about 10 feet to slide through. The coach itself isn't quite that wide, but the mirrors stick out on both sides, as does the awning and some of the other accessories. Okay, the coach does have a backup camera, which I encourage everyone to use. I also encourage you to put a body behind you, because sometimes there's things that the camera doesn't see, obstacles on the ground and that sort of thing. So before you go down the road, you need to familiarize yourself with the driver's controls, and we're not going to put that in the video feature because it's really something you need to do in person. This unit does have some different video dash controls and some other things that you can do. You've got a trip computer, you've got a gauge to watch your diesel exhaust fluid, or DEF. Visitor running through. That is something that we'll try to keep full for you. If you're going on a longer trip, you may need to add some. It is available at any auto parts store and most big truck stops, fueling stations, that sort of thing. And we'll show you where that goes in after a bit. Okay? So, going down the road, okay, this vehicle is going to handle a little different than a car, as you would expect. You need to take your turns a little slower. You need to stop a little farther in advance. And in tough weather conditions, you're going to need to allow quite a bit more stopping distance and just treat it like a larger vehicle. Even though driving it, it's real easy to believe that it's not. All right, so we're going to go through a few of the features and things that we can see from the outside. The first thing I'm going to show you is the power awning. And with our awnings, we can put them all the way out. We can stop them part way if we want. In Washington, they come in quite handy to protect us from the rain. In the summer, it's nice to have a shade. And if you've parked reasonably close to your picnic table, typically I've got my picnic table here. I've got a sunshade or a shade from moisture. Okay. Now, a couple of things about the awning that we have to talk about really quick. First and foremost, I do not go away from my campsite and leave the awning out. And the reason for that is if it starts getting gusty throughout the day, where I start getting gusts of over 15 miles an hour, the awning has to be put away. It is not going to do that automatically. And if I've gone off, I've left the awning out, we get some wind gusts. It can cause easily $2,000 worth of damage to the awning, more if the awning comes loose and hits the coach. It is not covered by insurance. It is strictly coming out of your deductible in your pocket for whatever damage happens. Please, please, please put the awnings away. Even if it's a beautiful day, if you're leaving the motorhome, put the awning up. You're welcome to use them. I always do. We just hate to get a call that you're stuck in your campsite and the awning won't retract because you've bent the arms. There's not much I can do over the phone to help you with bent awning arms. Okay, so that's most companies actually take the awnings off. We don't, because we encourage you to use the awning. We like the awnings, but please just use your head when it comes to the awning. You'll notice the power step. The power step comes in and out when I close the door. Okay, I can turn a switch on the inside that says step to off. That will let it stay out until the engine starts. Once the engine starts, then the step will roll in. So you don't have to worry about going down the road with your step hanging out unless you've had some kind of a battery issue or a power failure, but unlikely to happen. And if it does, we would expect you to make our phone ring. Okay. Next, we have the largest storage compartment that's right there. We'll show you a close-up picture of that in just a minute. This is be where you're going to try to get any of your really large stuff, camp chairs, firewood, that kind of thing. This is the furnace outlet. This will get very hot. Please don't ever lean anything up against there. Don't lean up against it to tie your shoe. You'll get an interesting tattoo. This is the outside of the refrigerator compartment. Do not open this compartment. There's nothing user serviceable in here. There's absolutely nothing you can do in that compartment. Leave it closed. If you come back without that door, we'll know that you opened it, didn't get it closed and latched right, and you're going to be out several $100s to get it painted and striped to match. 110 outlet. If I'm in an RV park and I've got my cord plugged into a power source, I have a 110 power source here for me to use at the picnic table. You can use your laptop chargers, anything like that, right out of this outlet, boombox, that kind of thing. This is a small storage hatch here, and you'll notice most of the storage hatches do have lights in them. This one does, and not a lot in there, but it is nice to have a little extra outside room. Okay, I'm going to roll the awning in, and then we're going to talk about how I level the motorhome when we get to the campsite. Okay, so we pull into our campsite. Frequently, campsites are a little low in the front. That's the most common way campsites are off level. They do that for water runoff. All right. It's uncomfortable to be in a motorhome trying to sleep where you're sleeping sideways or downhill, especially in one like this where the bed is what we call east-west, or it runs from side to side on the coach in the slide out rather than front to back. So in every RV rental that we send out, we send a 10-pack of what we call RV Legos. It's these orange blocks that you see right here, and these are just simply square Lego style bricks, not to infringe on anyone's copyright. You can drive up a couple of them at a time. Typically a 10-pack is more than enough to get you level-ish. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want to be comfortable. So on this one I'm going to bring it up 3 brick sizes. I've done 2 on the bottom, 2 in the center. So I'll just roll it forward. When I come forward, I'll put it in park and put on the parking brake. Okay, so here we are up on the blocks. There's a couple of things to note. The tire is squarely on top of the block. I don't have tire hanging off the edge real hard on either side. And side to side, I'm square on the block. The reason that's important is if I set up for a few days and I have the block in the middle of the tire with half the tire hanging off the block, you're asking for tread separation, which is going to be fine until the next time you hit 65 miles an hour on a hot day, and then your tire will come apart. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you or the person before you didn't do it. We don't want that to happen, so please sit squarely on the block, keep the tire safe. Now, you may have figured out by my jacket, this is a very brisk February morning. It's almost freezing. In fact, I've still got snow around here in parts of this property, which makes the asphalt very, very slick. If you're on a campsite that's really mossy, or you've got something where things are really slick, to give enough traction for those orange bricks to stick, I just put a small rag down under each of the bricks that we were going to drive up on. That just allowed it some traction because this is a really slick surface this morning. Okay. Great. That being said, we're going to go through the hookups because we're going to do the outside hookups on the motorhome before we put the slides out. And here we go. Okay, so we're at the back end of the motorhome. I've got the motorhome in the site where I want it. We've got it level from front to back. As you saw us, we've done the blocks. Next, we're going to hook up our utilities. And this is a really simple part of the process. So in every motorhome, when we do your walkthrough, we're going to show you where your power plug is. Right now it's in here. It can be put away in different compartments. It doesn't really matter much. We'll show you where that is. This piece right here, it says Furion 30 amp on it, is where this cord goes. And this is a marine connection. It's designed to be in a wet environment. It's totally safe to be in a wet environment. I should be able to put it on and put it down. There's a tension ring here I can tighten up. And then I just unroll the cord and we come over to the power outlet. We'll show you that in a minute. Okay, for the 30 amp cord from your motorhome, that's going to look like this, probably black, but that's the same thing. In your RV park, you're going to have an outlet that matches. That's really all there is to it. Now your motorhome's hooked up, you should have power. Go inside, check to see if your microwave lights are on. If they're not, the breaker for this is probably blown in the campsite. If you don't see one, ask your ranger. Okay? That's all there is to hooking that up. When you're done, put it back where you found it. Moving on. Okay? I plugged that into a 30 amp outlet. Now, most every RV park you go to with power hookups is going to have a 30 amp outlet. Some of them will say they're 50 amp service. That's okay. Any 50 amp service, at least in the northwest area, will also have a 30 amp plug right next to it. If you're going to be traveling in the southwest where you have a site reserve that specifies that it is 50 amp only, please ask us for an adapter. You will need an adapter to go from our 30 amp cord to a 50 amp cord. They're not supplied in every motorhome because truthfully less than 1 in 20 renters need them. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to locate our water hose. So we supply a 25-foot fresh water hose with each RV. On the end here is a brass fitting. You need to come back with this brass fitting or we got to charge you for them. They're about $15. What this brass fitting does is it controls the water pressure going into the hose so you don't overpressure the motorhome. Some hose spigots, including the one I'm about to hook to, has water pressure of over 100 psi. Most residences are about 60 psi. Motorhomes are designed for 45 psi. So what this brass piece does is it restricts the water pressure to 45 pounds. Okay? If you fail to use this, you will get a leak. Usually the toilet valve will leak first, not always. But you'll have fresh water in the motorhome, you're going to have a mess, and there's not much we can do about it. We don't hook up without one of these fittings. Okay? So I take this fitting, I hook it to the hose bib at the back of my site. I take the other end here, and everybody's hooked up a hose, so I don't think I need to show that. I take the other end, and I hook to this right here that says City Water Connection. Now, I can put the hose there, and then you just spin it to tighten it up. I get it good and tight so it doesn't leak. This will be using water and water pressure directly from the hose that you've plugged into your campground. This is independent of your fresh water tank that is on board, that is water that you take with you going down the road. The fill for the fresh water tank is on the other side. We'll show you a picture of that in just a second. This would be what you would use in the campground. Okay? The fresh water tank is what you use when you're going down the road, or if you're dry camping. You're at some place, maybe you're at the Gorge, one of our famous outdoor concert venues. They don't have water hookup, so you're using the water you've taken with you. If you want the water full, please specify that during your walkthrough. We'll be happy to fill the water for you. There's no charge for that. We don't care if you bring the fresh water tank back empty, half full, or full. The next person's going to want something different than how you left it anyway. We'll take care of that. So don't worry about how you bring it back. But if you are going to be dry camping or you're going to be at the Gorge, ask us to fill your water tank on walkthrough so it's full. In some places it can be difficult to get water filled. Okay? So I've got my power cord plugged in. I've got my water hooked up. The only other two things to talk about, we'll just cover here real quick. This is a little outlet that has a cable hookup. Some of the nicer parks, not your state parks, okay, there's not a state park anywhere that I'm aware of that does. Very few of the KOAs. Most of the nicer coast to coast, some of the private parks that are on the Oregon coast, a lot of the really high-end parks in Vegas, Southern California, Arizona, they'll actually have a cable hookup. We don't supply the cable that goes from here to the park because, again, less than 1 in 20 of our clients are going to ask for that or need it. If you're going someplace that you think has it, please ask us, and we will give you a patch cable to go from your motorhome to the park cable. Okay, that's the second thing that you'd have to ask us for if you think it's going to be a high-end park. Okay, and last is what everybody's the most. I don't want to use the word afraid, but what causes the most trepidation, as it were, is the sewer hookup. So I'm going to show you how to hook up your sewer and how to dump your tanks, and we're going to do that in great detail here in just a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to hook up my sewer hose. If I'm at a site that has full hookup sites, that means I've got a sewer connection. Okay, that being the case, I'm going to have my sewer hose hooked up while I'm camping. I can leave my black tank valve closed. That's important. We'll get to that in a minute. And my gray tank open. That means I can take as many showers as I want. Since this has an on-demand hot water heater, in theory, I should be able to take as long a shower as I want. I've got unlimited water coming in from the campground. I've got unlimited drainage because it's draining right into the ground. It's kind of like I'm taking a shower at home with a lot less pressure. Okay? Toilet, on the other hand, is the black tank. And we'll be able to tell the valves. They're actually labeled. One's labeled sewer outlet. That's your black. One's labeled wastewater. That's your gray. Okay? Gray is the sink and the shower. Black is your toilet. The reason that we're going to leave that black tank closed, except when I'm ready to dump, is that the bottom of that tank is very flat. Okay, it's a long, flat tank. It's only gravity when you flush the toilet. So paper and solids are going to build up in the bottom of that tank, and the liquid is going to run off if I've got my tank valve open. Eventually, I'll end up with a paper mache project that really isn't any fun for anybody to have to deal with. And in the heat, even with holding tank deodorant that we supply, it's not going to smell good. So we want to leave the black tank closed. We want to build it up till it's at least half a tank. Can even get almost all the way full if we'd like before we dump, or we wait until we're ready to leave the site. So if I'm just in a campsite for a day or two, the tank's probably only going to get eighth full, maybe a quarter full. It's still fine to dump it before you go. There'll be enough liquid in there that it should flush most of the stuff out. Okay. If you think there's an issue with that and it needs to be rinsed, let us know on the return. As long as the tank reads empty, we're not going to charge you to service the tank. But if you think that there's a buildup or something going on, please let us know so we can take care of that for the next client. All right, so to actually hook up my hose, there's a cap that I'm going to twist off, and it's got teeth just like the end of the hose. It's simply a twist lock cap, so I'm going to turn it counterclockwise or to the left, get the cap out. Okay. Now, often you'll get a few drips that come down. That's really normal. I recommend that you don't have your hand or anything else underneath it when you undo that cap. Okay. Take the sewer hose. Sewer hose is going to go on the same way the cap came off. I'm just going to twist it and make sure it's on there good and solid before I hook it up. Okay. As a side note, this is a brand new motorhome, so I'm not worried about it. But we do supply rubber gloves as part of the supplies that we give you. So you've got gloves to keep your hands sanitary and not get grossed out if you miss a drop or two. Okay. So the hose is hooked up here. I'm going to take my other end. Okay. So in a campsite, you're going to get a wide variety of what your hose hookup looks like. It's always going to be within about 5 feet of your power cord, within 10 feet of your fresh water or so. In the ground, you're going to have some plastic pipe that comes up. It's almost always plastic pipe. Sometimes it's got a threaded cap like this one. Okay? If it has a threaded cap, in your RV, you have an adapter that looks like this. We'll show you that on walkthrough. This adapter is a threaded adapter. If you have a threaded pipe, your RV park requires the threaded adapter so that it's sealed and you're not getting odors that are associated with sewage. So real simply, that will drop in. You turn that tight. You take the end of your sewer hose, snap it on, and you're good to go. This is now a secure sealed connection. Okay? So once that's on, I can go back to my RV. I pull the gray valve, which we'll show you in just a second, and the shower tank will dump. If I'm going to dump my black, I'm going to pull the black first, let it dump, close it, then pull my gray and rinse the hose out with gray water. And I'll show you those valves here in just half a second. Okay? Now, if you don't have that threaded connector, sometimes you want to use this to help keep it in the hole. Sometimes you just take the hose and stuff it down in the tube, and that's all there is to it. At dump stations, it's never threaded. If you're using a dump station on a highway on the way back, it's a question we get a lot. Well, how do I dump my tanks? Where do I dump my tanks? Does it cost money? In most states, most rest areas have RV dump stations. The universal sign is at the kind of at the ramp for the rest station or the rest area. There'll be a picture of a trailer with an arrow pointed into the ground underneath it. That means there's a dump station there for RV waste. Those are always free. I've never seen one you have to pay for along, on the highway. They would much rather you're dumping someplace that they can control. You can pull your rear axle up to the dump station, get out, hook up your hose, and dump it just like you were in a park. Near us, coming back on I-90, there are 3 between the gorge and in where we are, right on top of Anna Chill, which is just 10 minutes after you've left the concert grounds, Indian John Hill, which is about an hour after you left the concert grounds, and North Bend. They all have rest areas. North Bend is the last one. It's before you get to Issaquah. Please pull in, dump your tanks. If you come back with your tanks full, we will have to charge you for that. Please empty them. All right. I'll show you the valves, and then we can move on. Okay, so back at the motorhome, we've got the business end secure. Again, my tanks are labeled. I've got sewer and wastewater. Sewer, which we call black, waste, which we call gray. I'm going to pull the sewer valve. And you can probably see this T-handle right here. That's my gray tank. I've got another one on this side. I'm just going to reach out, give it a tug. It pulls out about that far. My toilet tank is now dumping. Okay, it's gravity flow. It's going to take anywhere from 15 seconds to 3 minutes, depending on the level of the grade that I'm dumping and how full the tank is. We're going to let it do its thing. You can hear it. You can see it through the clear end of the tube going into the ground. When it's done, I'm going to close that and make sure that it's all the way closed. Or next time I go to dump, I've given myself or the next person a surprise, right? So I got the valve all the way closed tight. And then I pull the gray one, which is the sink in the shower. And we've got a little bit of antifreeze and some water in there that's coming out, which is fine. Let that do its thing. Once that's empty, it's rinsed the hose out. I've got nothing left in my tanks. I'm going to close the gray valve. I'm going to shake the sewer hose out. There's usually a rinse hose that I can rinse out if necessary. Please don't use your fresh water hose to rinse your sewer hose. That's not sanitary. If there's not another rinse hose there, just shake the hose out as best you can, and we're going to put the hose away. Every motorhome, the hose is stored in a different place. Sometimes we have them in a Tupperware tub. Sometimes the motorhome has a place for the hose to store. We will show you that on walkthrough when we show you your cords and hoses. Okay? So my gray tank is now empty. I push that fully closed to make sure it's done. I twist this guy back off. Shake the hose out. Disconnect the hose from the ground source, obviously, once it's all shaken out, and put the hose away. When I'm done with that, I put the cap back on the connection here at the motorhome. Because if I go down the road and a state patrol officer sees me with my cap dangling, he can stop us and give us a $124 ticket. Okay, if you lose your cap, any RV store or Walmart, any place you can find it. I had a lot of questions. Okay, I'm back. I haven't got my tanks dumped yet. Where do I dump my tanks if I'm close to the dealership? We don't have sewer at the dealership. We're real happy about that, as you can imagine. So we have to take it to a dump station. The closest dump station is on I-5, southbound lanes only. If you go out, 128th is the closest exit to the dealership. It is just north of that. So you've got to go up to Everett Mall Way, which is one exit, turn around, and come back. On the freeway, there's a rest area with a free 3-lane dump station. They just redid it. It's beautiful. It's clean. It's sanitary. It's real easy. If you don't want to mess with it, we're going to charge you $100. Please dump your tanks. Okay? On the Sprinter diesel 24-footer, I'm going to show you the generator service compartment. So I'm going to unlatch this door. Take the key. I've already done that. Flip this door up. I have to take the cap off the water connection to get the door to stay up. But once I do, it will. And now we're looking at this Onan diesel generator. The reason I'm showing you this is when you're on generator power, meaning I'm not plugged into a 110 power source someplace. If I run the air conditioner is taking 85% of everything the generator can put out. Okay? So if I turn on the microwave, plug in a hairdryer, a curling iron, a coffee pot, something that is going to take a lot of power, I'm going to pop the generator breaker. Now the generator will stay running, which is the confusing part, but I've lost power to everything inside that runs on 120 volt, which is my microwave, my outlets, and my air conditioner, really the only things that will, because the TV will run on the inverter. So if my microwave lights go out, my air conditioner won't run, but the generator's still running, I need to come out here, flip those two teardrop levers horizontally, take this off, and outside start switch. Right here by my finger, we've got a breaker, and we'll show you a picture of that in just a second. This one was actually tripped. The breaker needs to be pulled forward, okay? As long as that little switch is pulled forward, you'll have AC power from the generator. Since I'm here, for those of you who are taking longer trips in the summer, we will tell you to check the generator oil every 20 hours. So you've got an hour meter inside. We'll record the hours when you leave. We ask that you check the oil every 20 hours. It's important because these don't have a low oil pressure shutoff switch. And if you burn the generator up and you come back with no oil in it and 50 hours on the generator, we're going to have an issue with you. So let's not do that. It's just like checking the oil in a lawnmower. I simply, without the generator running, this is important, turn the generator off, let it sit for a few minutes, unscrew this cap, pull it out. I should have oil on the end of the stick. If I do, we're good. Put it back on, everything's fine. If there's not, on your walkthrough we will show you we've supplied generator oil in a paper funnel. Put the paper funnel there, add just 5 or 6 tablespoons of oil, really, to give you an idea. It's not much. Check the oil again, it'll be on the stick, put it away. Okay? We don't want it overfull either. Okay, it's important we get the generator door back on correctly. The generator is not designed to run without this door on. It can cause overheating. These doors are a couple $100. Don't come back without it. Take this door up, kind of sit on the tray that way, close it firmly. Both latches should easily turn down into the vertical position. Okay, once that's done, we're done out here. We can go back inside, restart the generator. If we need to, you'll have full power. That doesn't happen often, but people forget, right? You've got the air on. Somebody doesn't think they plug in a curling iron or a coffee pot. You've lost power. So that's how we fix it. Okay, we're going to finish up on the driver's side here, just a few more things, and then we can put the slide outs and work on the inside. So this is the outside shower. Most customers won't use this, but if you want it, it's really nice to have. I use it for all kinds of things when I'm traveling. I usually take let me get the key all the way in here. I usually take a plastic table and set up out here. I actually do my dishes outside. It keeps the mess out of inside. So we've got a shower head, just like I've got inside with hot and cold running water. I can set it here. If I come back covered in sand from the beach, or I've gotten really messy from doing whatever we were doing, right? Maybe you're like me and you like to scuba dive, you're covered in salt water and want to rinse your gear. Do that outside the coach. So we've got hot and cold running water, shower head, it can sit right here. I don't recommend that you try to bathe in a crowded RV park. You'll at least get some funny looks, if not a knock on the motorhome from the ranger telling you to put your clothes back on. But you do have hot and cold running water out here, okay? So real simple. When I'm done, I just wind it back up, put it back like I found it, and away we go. The key for that is a different key. It's the one that says 751 on it. All right, this door right here, leave this door entirely alone. It's the hot water heater door. There's nothing you can do inside. This vent gets very hot, may even get hot enough to roast marshmallows. Don't lean anything up against it. Make sure that you've got a couple of feet clearance between this outlet and any brush, anything that could catch fire. All right. Okay, so this big compartment right here is just another big storage compartment. It's as large as the one on the other side. We have a light in this one as well. You'll see a couple of valves in this one on a red and a blue line. Leave those valves alone. Those are for winterizing, and if you mess with those valves or those valves get bent or turned whatever, you're not going to have any water pressure. It's going to be going out the bottom of your coach. Okay. Also right here there is something called Santa Flush. It's a black water tank rinse hose hookup. Don't hook your freshwater hose to it. That's not where your freshwater hose goes. It goes back here at City Water connection. We would use that if we were going to flush the tank. You shouldn't need to do that. Okay? And that's all for this compartment. We're going to put it down and make sure it's latched. This next one is a utility cubby. So right here is a sewer hose storage. Your sewer hose will most likely be stored in there unless we've shown you something else. And propane fill. So these have an onboard propane tank. When you pick it up, we will do our best to have it either full or make sure you have enough for your trip. If you're just going for a week in the summer, a half a tank is more than enough. Actually, a quarter tank is probably more than enough. This particular model, because it's a diesel, the generator runs off your propane tank. So for most clients, we will have their tank full every time when they go out in case you're going to run the generator for a while. It needs to be filled. These tanks are not removable from the motorhome. You can't take them with you into town without driving the coach. They're attached to the motorhome. So you'll drive the motorhome into some place that fills propane. Some campgrounds, most big rest areas for trucks alongside the highway that are private gas station fueling rest areas have it. Most U-Hauls have it. Some RV dealers have it. We do not charge you for propane. You can bring the propane tank back empty. It's included in your rental. Don't worry about having it full. We will charge you for engine fuel. Please get the engine fuel fueled on your way back as like the last thing that you do before you come in. We'll be checking, and that's right here. We're going to switch angles here. Okay, so to put diesel fuel in this one, we open the driver's door. We flip the lever. That is where my diesel fuel goes, okay? Absolutely, positively do not put gasoline in this motorhome. You'll be in for a really big bill. Please don't do that. Diesel fuel only in the Mercedes diesel chassis, okay? It does need to come back full, and yes, we will be checking. All right, while we're here, you have chassis fuses. Now, this is not for interior lights and your water pump and the stuff for the house. This is for driving. The chassis fuse center for a Sprinter diesel is right here. Odds of you're needing to get in there are quite slim, and without the owner's manual or a test light, you're not going to figure out which one of those fuses is tripped anyway. But that's where it is if you lose signal lights, brake lights, headlights, wipers, defrost fan, that kind of thing. That's where the fuse is. My suggestion would be go to a service station, have them do it for you. Obviously keep your receipt. Okay. While I'm thinking about it, anything on the road that comes up that needs to be addressed, if it's something that is broken, quit working, whatever, and you can get it fixed for less than $200, get it fixed. Keep the receipt. Bring it to us. We'll take care of it. If you're not sure it's broken, you might want to call and ask us first if there's troubleshooting, and look at the troubleshooting that you have. There's 3 pages on the back of your packet. If you bring us a receipt for something where somebody told you it wasn't broken, you weren't using it right, that's on you. If it's actually broken and not working, that's on us. All right? So let's go inside, and I'm going to go inside actually and put the slides out. We'll show you a little video of what that looks like as you're coming out from both inside and outside. Here we go. Okay, so inside the motorhome, back here, this is the bathroom door, the rear bed. On the wall, right here inside the bed, there's a button that says extend and retract. I'm going to press and hold the extend button. I've already been outside to make sure that my area is clear for the slide out so that it can't hit anything. It's going to go out about 3 feet. And as you can see, this takes about 30 seconds per slide room. It's not that big of a deal, and it's fully automatic. Once the slide is fully out, I can take the special mattress, flip the mattress over, and now I have an island queen bed in the back of my 24-foot motorhome, which is just awesome. Very few floor plans can do that for you. To do the front slide out, we're going to do that from the control panel. Okay, we are just inside the door of the motorhome, right behind the passenger seat. This is our control panel. On the control panel, I have a button right here that says slide extend. This is for the front slide. I'm going to press and hold that button, and our front slide room is going out. Okay, now we're fully extended. I've let go of the button, and we'll show you a few things on the inside. Okay, back at the control panel, this is kind of the brain center of the motorhome. We're going to go through this really quick. My first button is a step on and off. If I turn that button to off, the step will stay out while I'm set up at a campground and the engine's not running. I prefer it that way, so if you run out the door in a hurry and the step isn't out, you're not in for a big surprise. Okay. Ceiling on, this is for center lights down the middle of the motorhome, so if I come in at night, once I find that button, the motorhome's lit up. The slide extend button is the button we just talked about where I ran the slide out to bring it back in. I'm going to make sure there is nothing on the floor, no adults sitting on the slide. Press retract, it'll come back in on its own. Water pump. when I'm in a campground hooked up to a hose, I don't need this turned on. I need this turned on when I'm not hooked up to a hose and I'm using water from my freshwater tank. I flip that on, I get a red light. I'll hear a pump run until it pumps up to pressure. That will give me pressure at my faucet, my sink, my shower, the toilet. Anything that is going to be water supply is going to come from that. I recommend you have that off going down the road in case something shifts in the bathroom and turns a faucet on. I've had customers that have shown up at a campground with no fresh water and a full gray tank. So we recommend you have that off, but it does need to be on in order for you to use the toilet, wash your hands, etc. while you're on the road. Okay? Generator start. If I press and hold this generator start button, I'll hear the generator turn over. I'm not sure my propane's on. Doesn't sound like it is. My propane has to be turned on. The generator will fire up, and then I'll have AC power inside the coach, or 120 volt, like household power inside the coach. There's an hour meter right here. We'll take the meter reading when you leave. 5 hours of generator use a day are included. That's enough for 95% of our clients. For those of you who are going to dry camp at the gorge and want to run your generator all day, and God bless you, but you're going to pay $5 an hour over every day you've paid for rental. So if you've paid for 6 days rental and you bring it back with 40 hours on the generator, you're going to pay us an extra $5 an hour for 10 hours, $50. Okay? That's just because the generators do have a life, and we have to service them every 100 hours. It's $100 for us to service the gen. Over here, this is our gauge package. So if I press and hold the LPG button, that is my liquid propane tank that is on board. It reads full currently. The next one is my battery level. It's reading 2/3. I'm not plugged in right now, and it's middle of winter, and coach is cold. I'm probably doing good to show 2/3. Fresh water would be for water I'm going to take with me. That's showing empty. You can see the empty light comes on. Black would be my toilet tank. It's actually reading right now, but we know it's empty. I'll have to figure out what's happening with that. It's brand new, so I probably know what's going on with that. We'll get that taken care of. Gray is reading empty. You have switch blanks here for tank heaters. This would be if we had 120 volt AC tank heaters on holding tanks for the unit to go up ski and that kind of thing. We do not rent our units to go up mountain passes when weather conditions are nasty. It's actually forbidden for you to go anywhere where traction devices are required. You sign a statement saying that you're not going to do that, and for the few winter rentals that we do, there's whole other conversations that go with that. That's why we do very few rentals before March 1st. And the early ones we do that are going long trips, we still have a very lengthy conversation about what you're allowed to do with our motorhomes. Okay, moving on. So just inside the door of our 24-foot Sprinter, we've got a switch that says step. That's for the step light. Got a switch that says awning. That's for the awning light. On, off, right? And then this was the switch that I did for awning in and out. And again, make sure it's fully retracted before you leave your site. This is your battery disconnect switch. You're going to leave that switch on for your entire rental. The only reason to turn it off would be if you were going on a ferry and wanted to make sure all your propane appliances were off. If you're on a ferry, they'll also make you turn the valve off at the propane tank. We need to talk about these. A few of my more luxury units have rear stabilizer jacks. And I have to emphasize the fact that they are stabilizer jacks. They are not leveling jacks. That means if you pull into a site and you're off level and you think, oh, I have jacks, I can level my motorhome. No. These jacks are to take the bounce out of the motorhome. So if you have more than two people especially, and people are walking around, you don't want to feel the motorhome bouncing back and forth. I hit extend, and I run those all the way down to the ground until they stop. And that will take the bounce out of the coach. It will not level. Okay? It's really good for making you feel more comfortable inside the coach. And outside, the motorhome doesn't show motion nearly as well. Okay? So that's what those are. Make extra sure, that'll be on your checklist, make extra sure that those are fully retracted before you go down the road, because if you don't have them fully retracted, you'll likely come back with one of them damaged, and they're rather expensive, and it will come out of your deductible. Okay? Last thing right here, we've got a counter extension. That comes in really handy if you're trying to do dishes at the sink or do some kind of food prep. When you go to put it down, reach your arm underneath so you can get both arms. Lift, push, and it comes down real nice. please don't force it. Those brackets will bend, they'll break, the next person won't have a counter extension. Okay, come on inside. Okay, we're inside the motorhome. You probably can't hear it because this one is really quiet. I've started the generator, and I've done that to give us 110 or 120 volt AC power inside the coach. The easiest way to tell if you have 120 volt AC power inside the coach is to look at the microwave right here. I should be able to see on the video, those lights are on, like it's trying to tell you the time. If those lights are on, we have AC power. If we don't have AC power. It's just that simple, okay? So if I start my generator, give it 10 or 15 seconds, those lights will come on. If I have my power cord and I plug into an RV park, a 30 amp outlet someplace, I'll have plenty of power to do everything inside the coach I want, as long as I'm not running the air conditioner and another heat source at the same time. All right, so a few things. Kitchen sink works just like ones you've seen at home. Got the spray wand. Don't let your kids play with that. We have a 3-burner range top. To light the range is quite simple. I turn whichever one I want to the light, hit the sparker, and I've got flame. Okay. In the summer, when my air conditioner is on, if I've got the air conditioner dumping my air right here, I will have to cover that burner with a pan in order to trap enough propane for it to light. Okay? Do not use the stove as a heat source. That's not what it was designed for. We do have an onboard furnace. We'll get to that in a moment. Your microwave should work just about like the one you have at home. So you can use it like a microwave and it will circulate the air and cook in about half the time of a normal microwave, or you can use it as a convection oven. There'll be a book in here that explains how to use it if you have questions. Okay. Let's go right here to the TV real fast. We have a 32-inch TV here that can be seen from the dinette. This TV does not move away from the wall. It is fixed. Don't try to pull it out. You just have to watch it from the dinette. Okay? I do need the generator on or be plugged into AC to operate the TV. The TV does have a DVD player. The DVD player is up here in this compartment right here. It's a Sony DVD player. It also has an HDMI cord, so if you have a video player of some kind, you want to play a video off your iPad, you're someplace with Wi-Fi and you want to stream, that's fine. You can do it here and it'll play to the TV. There's also a bedroom TV in this model. Back here there's another 32-inch TV from the primary bed back here on the wall. So if you want to watch two things at once, or you want to have a lazy morning or watch a movie, put kids down, whatever, you have that option. Okay. Cupboards, drawers, all of that's pretty self-explanatory. We have light switches up underneath here that do these lights. Like I said, our ceiling light switch is on the control panel just coming in. The door, it's right there to the right as you come in the door. And then we have LED lights here that are turned on individually. We have more lights up over the top. Okay. Refrigerator. Let's talk about the refrigerator, because in the summer, this becomes pretty important. So, power switch right here that I'm going to press and hold. I want the A to come on. Okay, the A means that the refrigerator is on automatic mode. We're going to have it on automatic mode when you pick up. There's no reason to turn it off for your entire trip or to do anything different unless you're going to get on a ferry. Okay? This fridge is on the opposite side of where you're fueling, and you'll be fueling diesel. I have to tell you to turn it off, even though sometimes I might not. So it's recommended that you turn it off to keep from having a problem. If you're filling propane, it should be off. That's a whole other thing. But for filling diesel, I wouldn't think it's that big of a concern. Your hot water tank and furnace do need to be turned off because they're very open flame when you're getting fuel. You don't want to light somebody else's gas fumes inside the gas station. So it's on auto, and I said we were going to talk about that because in the summer when it is very hot, and by very hot I mean it's getting up over 80 degrees during the day. For those of you that are watching this video and you're visiting us from Arizona, you're going to laugh at that. For us, that's hot. The reason that it's important that we talk about the fridge is especially if you've got more than two people, especially if you've got kids, and somebody's used to fridge surfing. They're kind of doing this a couple times an hour throughout the day. Your fridge is not going to be able to keep up. Okay, on a hot day, there's just no way. These fridges work way slower than your ones at home. You need to leave them closed as much as you can in the heat, especially if the sun is on the passenger side of the RV. that makes it work even harder, you're going to lose your food. All right, so please leave those closed except when you have to get them open. I recommend everyone bring a cooler for their beverages. Okay, if you're flying in from out of state and you don't have a cooler and you show up without one, if we've got one available that's not booked out with one of the other RVs because it's part of our kitchen kit, we'll supply one. But I can't promise that if you didn't order a kitchen kit in advance. Okay. We're on the bedroom wall just outside the bathroom. And a couple things we're going to show you real quick. First, this is our climate control. I can turn it to heat or cool depending on the time of year and what we want it to do. If I turn it to heat, turn the thermostat up because it's cold, we're still wintertime here. The furnace is going to come on, blow cool air for about 20 seconds. I'll hear it light, it's going to blow hot air, bring the temperature up just like it would at home, shut off, and then recycle just like your home furnace would. If I wanted air conditioner, I just move it over here to cool, set the thermostat, it does the same thing, only in reverse. So I'll turn that back off. Your propane heat, the furnace is using propane and 12-volt battery to cycle the fan. If you're dry camping, you're only concerned with running the furnace. A is obviously how much propane you have, and B, you need to make sure your batteries have a good charge before you go to bed to run that furnace all night if it's someplace cold. For most of you, you're going to be someplace warm and are too concerned about being hot. To run the air conditioner, you have to be plugged into an RV power outlet or have your generator running. Okay? You can't run your air conditioner on batteries. Right underneath it here, just light switch. And this is for the rear slide room only. And for the rear slide room, again, you have to flip the bed up out of the way. It folds up from the bottom, kind of like so. And then you run that slide room all the way in, making sure there is nothing blocking anywhere around the bed. You can't have any luggage back here, shoes, nothing stored. It has to be empty back here when you do that. You can't have things stored on the bed once the mattress is flipped up, just not around the base. Okay? And I would just hold the retract button until it's all the way in. Obviously extend when it's going up. This unit does have two TVs. You've got a bedroom TV with its own remote. And up above here we have a 12-volt exhaust fan. This is really cool. If you're set up someplace where you're not plugged into an RV outlet and you want to leave some ventilation going, this vent actually has a cover. You can leave it open even going down the road. It can be open in the rain. It's not going to get water in here. It's got a special cover over the top. And you can turn this fan on just by hitting the on button here. And it's going to blow, or it's going to pull rather, the warm air that's coming up toward the ceiling anyway, and push it out the RV. So typically I would leave a window cracked up front. This is going to create some ventilation, so if I'm gone during the day without the generator running and without the air on, and etc., I don't come back to a motorhome that's really hot. Okay, so that's a really nice option for you. It's also really nice if you're in a campground where you don't have power, and they make you shut your generator off at 9 or 10 at night, and it's still warm in here. This will get a nice breeze going for you. Okay. So I'm going to turn that guy back off and then just close this back down. It will be noisier going down the road if I forget and leave that vent open. Okay, a couple of things really quick. Let's talk about the overhead bunk area. Going down the road, if I have this out of the way so it's easy to get in and out of the cab, I have to remember I can't have things stored up here, because as I go around a corner, anything that's worked its way loose while I'm driving is going to come down and hit the driver in the head. I've had that happen more than once. Pretty disconcerting while you're going to have a sleeping bag bounce off your skull. So please don't have anything stored up top. When you're ready to use this for a bed, this can come out this way. And of course, if you want to travel with the bed in this position, having things stored up here isn't a problem. It's just a little harder to get in and out of the front. When I put that there, the ladder will drop into these two brackets. We do ask that you don't have anybody up top with shoes. Try to keep it as clean as you can. It's a hard area for us to clean, and if you spill beverages up there, it's an expensive cleaning fee because we got to take it all apart. So, especially with kids, I would tell them no food or no drinks up top. Okay. If you have someone who has to lay down and you have to drive down the road, this is a better option than the back bed because the back bed's going to be in. And if they are up near the front of the coach and you hit the brakes, there's nowhere for them to go. If they're somewhere else, that may not be the best option. We always recommend that you have passengers belted in. In a coach like this, you've got 4 seat belts. It is possible for you to choose to have 5 people go along with someone sitting here, not here. They need to sit here. So if you hit the brakes hard, there's something to catch their head. Okay. Having someone sit here going down the road without head and neck support is dangerous. All right. RVs are like limousine rolls. So in this area, behind the driver's and passenger seat, seat belts are not legally required in Washington and most other states. I will tell you though, if you've got somebody on their way to the bathroom or standing up, getting a Coke, getting something, and the driver has to hit the brakes for some reason, they will be on the dash that fast. It's amazingly, it's instantly they're hitting the dash and they're probably hurt. So please do that very sparingly and with good communication between the passenger and the driver. Okay. When I go to run this slide in, we're going to run the slide in. There can't be anything in the way. I can't have any adults sitting on a seat. If I've got one 50-pound kid, yeah, that's okay. But try not to have more than 50 pounds in the slide rooms when they're coming in and out, please. This will fold into a bed. In this motorhome, it's unlikely that you would need to do that because we try not to rent it for more than 4 people. But if you do need to fold it into a bed, I'll show you how to do that really quick. And this one is brand new. It's never been turned into a bed before, so everything's going to be a little bit stiff and uncooperative on me, I think. One thing real quick. This seat right here does have a child car seat rear strap support. So right here, you take the seat off the back, it would come down through here and would strap in right there. So if you do have a car seat, you do have a place to strap that car seat in like it was designed. And underneath the table right here, I have a little lever. I'm going to move that lever the other direction, and then I should be able to just push the table down nice and smooth like that. Much nicer than much of the competition, the way they do the tables. And now I've got a bed. Okay? To give you an idea how big this bed is, with my boots on, I'm 5'10". I have just enough room with my boots. Okay, safety stuff. It's the last thing to cover. Loaded fire extinguisher by the door. I hope you don't need it, but if you do, please bring it back empty. We have a smoke detector on the ceiling right here. We all know what that means. It means somebody's been cooking in here, usually not very well. In the back, this right here is my propane safety detector. This is the one we're really cautious about. If this thing starts going chirp, 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 your house batteries are low. Start the engine, start the generator, plug it in, something, get your batteries charged back up. That's all it means. If it starts screaming at you like an air raid siren, you have propane in the RV or some other dangerous gas. So the only thing you're going to check is these 3 burners. If these burners are turned off, get out. If one of them was on, that was your problem. Turn it off, air out the coach. Yeah, okay, somebody turned the burner on by accident. If it's not it, it's very dangerous. It removes oxygen from the environment, and it's highly explosive. It's much more dangerous than gasoline. Get out of the motorhome. If you feel like you can, we showed you where the propane tank was earlier. Turn the propane tank valve off, just like turning off the faucet at a hose. Leave the doors open, let it air out for half an hour. That'll eventually stop. Stay out of the motorhome. Okay? And like I said, if it's not the burner, you can't turn your propane back on, call the store. It doesn't happen often, but it's the thing that scares us the most. I haven't ever had it happen to one of my rentals. Let's hope it doesn't. And here we are in the bathroom of the 24FS on the Sprinter chassis. This bathroom's got a couple of things different about it. The first one is its hot water supply. This hot water supply control is right here. We'll show you a picture of that in a second. This has an on-demand water heater, meaning there isn't a tank with water. It's like an instant on you'd have at home. You have unlimited hot water until either your water tank is empty, your water supply goes dry, or until your holding tank is full, which is usually what happens first. You can set the thermostat up or down and control it just from that. It works real easy. Just remember that you get about 5-6 minute showers and your holding tank will be full. So you get about half an hour of runtime in the shower regardless of how you use it. If you use it all at once, that's once, 30 minutes. Okay. Next, let's talk about actually being in the shower here. These all have a shut off. Typically you'd get in, set the temperature, get your hair wet, push that over. That's going to shut the water supply off. You can shampoo, shave, whatever your shower routine is, turn it back on without having to adjust the temperature again, rinse off, and conserve quite a bit of water that way. You just want to keep as much water from going down the drain in a wasteful way as possible so you don't have to empty your tanks. Now if you're in a full hookup site, okay, I guess you don't care. It's just going to run off and that's fine. But for most people who are in a site that doesn't have sewer hookup, filling up the holding tank is a concern, as is draining the fresh water tank if you're using water from your tank. Okay. Next, let's talk about the toilet here real quick. An RV toilet isn't going to have any water in the bowl because you don't want water splashing around while you're going down the road, and we don't want to waste any water or put more water into our sewage tank than we have to. So if you're just going to go number one, do what you got to do. Use as little paper as necessary and as much water to flush down the toilet. We do supply RV toilet paper. It's important that you use the paper that we supply or buy RV and marine fast dissolving paper, not stuff from home. If you bring Charmin or another product from home, you're likely going to have a clog, and it's not something we can help you with over the phone. If you bring it back with clogged tanks, obviously that is something we would charge you for. So plenty of water, as little paper as you can get away with. If you're going to do more than go number one, you need to raise the level of the water in the toilet simply by pushing the foot lever down about half an inch. If you push it down, you'll hear the water pump come on. Level will raise in the toilet. You want enough water in there to cover up whatever deposit you're going to leave, or the whole motorhome will smell like an outhouse and you're going to get voted off RV Island real quick. Okay? So you just raise the level, do what you have to do. When you're done, flush it, and forget about it until the guy has to come along and dump the tanks. Okay? One more thing in here that we want to show you real quick. This outlet right here is a GFCI outlet, and most of you will have those at home in your bathrooms. The difference with this one is all of the other outlets in the motorhome are wired through here. So if everything works in your motorhome, your microwave lights are on, your air conditioner comes on, everything else works, but your outlets are dead, you just need to hit the reset button. That's right here. Okay, now we're going to go over a few things in the cab of the Sprinter motorhome. Now the 24FS is the only model that we have this year in the Sprinter, which is a Mercedes diesel, which means everything up front is totally different. And we're going to cover just a few high points and things that you need to be aware of here. First, I'm going to notice how easy it is for me to get into the driver's seat. This is way easier than the Fords. The Fords have a big doghouse that come out like this. They don't have near as much feet room. And for people who are really tall or really large, this is much easier to get in and out of. Okay, so now I'm in the compartment here. Now I'm only about 5'9". I'm fairly wide, but I've got a lot more room here than I do in a Ford because the seat will go back a long ways where I can't even reach the pedals. So if we get somebody who's 6'2", 6'5", they're going to be way more comfortable in the cab portion of this than they would be a Ford Class C. Okay, I'm going to move the seat back where I can reach everything again here. These do have Bluetooth phone controls. You can pair your phone real easy with that. The Mercedes double cut laser keys. Please do not lose these keys. They're $300-400 if we have to have one replaced. For this motorhome, obviously gear shift is right here. Put it in drive and pretty much forget about it. You do have some different controls on the dash. The climate system, you're going to want to familiar yourself with climate control before you leave. It's a little more complicated than most people. You can see that the stereo is already trying to pair with my Bluetooth. Remember that you're 12 feet high. You're extra wide, so just be real careful with that. Ground clearance on these isn't what you have with your car, so you have to be aware of that as well. Okay. Lots of controls and stuff on the dash. Headlights are just over here, and emergency brake obviously is right here. This seat, I can dial it forward or back. I can dial it up or down. I've got lumbar support. There's lots of adjustments that we can do. Okay. Just remember when you're putting fuel in it, it is a diesel motorhome. Do not put gasoline in it, please. That'll ruin the motor, actually. So let's not do that. And anything else that you need to know, we'll go over with you on walkthrough. Okay, moving on. Okay, we're kind of at the end of our video. I've given you a real quick run through of most of the things you need to know. You'll probably have some questions. We'll be happy to cover those when you're picking up the RV. We really want you to enjoy your vacation and have a good trip, so we've tried to show you everything that you really need to know. Please, by all means, try to enjoy your trip. This is a lot of fun. I love to camp. Ryan loves to camp. Most everybody here loves to camp. That's part of the reason we do what we do. This is the best way to go do it, and this is a beautiful motorhome. So, happy camping. We'll see you soon.